Hey everybody, welcome back to Magic Orthodoxy. We are here for another episode of Talking to Strangers. And if you don't know, if you're just tuning in, the premise is I sit down with someone who I don't know, hence a stranger, and then we talk about approaching people, strangers, to perform magic. And so our guest today is Kyle Purnell. And little disclaimer though, Kyle and I are not strangers. We are not strangers. We have met one time. We have met once before
Yeah.
on that day that I call the greatest day of my life.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I thought you were
There's
going to say,
the there's the day I met Kyle Purnell, and then the day I got married, and then I had my kids.
wow. I don't, that's quite the honor.
Welcome to the podcast. Thanks for doing it today.
Absolutely, man. Yeah. Let's talk shop. It's one of my favorite things to talk about.
Yeah, so we were talking a little bit before this, and you admit, or not admitted, but you said that your main approach to uh, working with strangers is through working at a restaurant. And
Absolutely.
so I know that's something that people ask about sometimes. They talk about how to get a gig, or just um, that might be a different arena than, say, like walking around doing street magic for strangers.
Yes.
But they are certainly strangers, and perhaps not everybody is open to seeing a magic trick.
Right. Absolutely. You might get an appearance from my son every now and again.
Gosh,
Here he is. This is Ollie, who doesn't understand social cues yet.
that's okay. Do you remember like some of the first times you ever did a magic trick for someone you didn't know?
Um, that's a really good question. Yeah. So outside of like work, it would definitely have had to have been junior high or high school because I got into magic around high school, and it was mostly friends at that point. But then you get the friends say, hey, you got to come see this. So I'm sure it was like junior high or high school, and I was terrible at both magic and talking to strangers at that point. I had very little confidence at the time, and it was a really slow start to my magic career, I would say.
Were
Pretty
you
slow.
doing what were you doing, like card tricks, or were you doing like store-bought gimmick stuff?
Mostly card tricks, because for a long time it was kind of my security blanket. I felt very uncomfortable palming coins or really doing anything. This felt safe.
Right.
It's really the only thing that I did for a long time until I got really tired of feeling that way, and I thought, you got to do some more stuff. So I did. But in a way, that's kind of how I feel about talking to strangers too. For a long time, it was really hard for me to approach people because I had this like social imposter syndrome, that everybody else was meant to be there, and I was always kind of getting in the way. And so the biggest part getting over the talking to strangers hump was getting over the fact that I thought that I wasn't worthy enough to be a part of their conversation, or I was more of a burden than an asset in their group. And once I got over that, it became a lot easier to approach.
Do you feel like that does go away, or do you feel like you still fight that a little bit sometimes?
No,
No.
like I get some butterflies in my stomach when I approach a group, or sorry, go to a gig, right? Like if I'm going to a new gig, like a corporate event where everybody knows each other, it might flash before my eyes for a hot second, and then, but then when I actually go to approach the groups, now it's not there anymore because I know what I'm doing, and I know, and I've got way more confidence than I had when I was in high school.
Well, how long have you been doing magic in restaurants?
Oh, in restaurants since 2018.
I can't do
So
math.
I should
Well,
know
like
that.
7 years? 7 years?
17, 8 years.
Eight
Eight, no,
years.
seven.
Okay.
Yeah.
Has it always been the same, or have you moved around a little bit?
I moved around a little bit. The place that I was at for 6 years was the Grand Illusion in Carlisle, Pennsylvania, but they closed down last summer, unfortunately. And when word got out that they were closing down, a new restaurant, they they got word of it and they swept me up, so to speak. So I've been with them for about a year now.
Well, that first one sounds like it was kind of a magic themed restaurant.
It was a magic themed restaurant. I would say it was a cider bar that had a very clear magic theme, but it wasn't necessarily a magic bar because
Hmm.
when I was calling it a magic bar, people expected multiple magicians, multiple days a week. But no, it was very much a cidery, and then very much secondary was magic.
Cidery, as in they sold like apple cider, or
Yeah,
was this like hard like liquor cider?
yeah. So yeah, it was a hard cider bar. They also had beer and then soda flights for the kids and stuff like that. And they had escape rooms up top. It was really sweet.
Well,
And
that's
they
cool.
that they closed. And then, so I'm at a place called Market Cross Pub. It's an English fare bar, and it is awesome. It is. It's a. Actually, this is pretty. This is really relevant, actually,
Okay.
because there was one really distinct advantage that Grand Illusion had over Market Cross, which is when people went to Grand Illusion, even if they didn't technically know there was a magician, they it wasn't weird that there was a magician there because it's a magic ambiance, it's a magic atmosphere, it's a magic bar, right? So when I said I'm the magician, even if they didn't know that I was there or who I was, when I said that, oh, it makes sense. It's a magic bar. It's a little bit less common to have a magician at an English fair pub. Uh, so it's absolutely worked, but I had an advantage at Grand Illusion. And so it is a little bit more of an uphill battle to approach a group now because I don't have that little crutch to rely on that it's a magic establishment anyway.
Yeah. Ironically, like Walt Disney World, they have an area called the Boardwalk. It's not within any of the parks. It's like an outdoor shopping, eating, artsy kind of place. And they actually have a bar that's a magic bar that's themed. It's got all the magic posters on the wall. Their drinks are named after famous magicians, and they don't have any magic in the
Really?
bar itself. No.
Oh my gosh, that's
There's no magicians. Nobody's walking around doing magic. I was like, what a missed opportunity.
absolutely.
Yeah. So when you're at work, do you have a go-to line that's your opener? Like, do you have a few things that you would say when you walk right up?
Yeah, I do, and it kind of goes further than just the approach too. But the approach, it's not really anything super clever, so to speak. Um, but I just want to make sure that in the first few seconds they know uh, who I am, why I'm there, and that I'm worth watching. Um, so right now, the opening line is something like, "Hey, how's it going? My name is Kyle Purnell. I'm so sorry for interrupting, but Market Cross brings me in every Thursday to be, I kid you not, the magician. To go to your table and have fun with magic right here, right now. Is this a good time to have some fun, or should I come back later?" And the, really, the only thing that is pretty intentional there is, well, there's a few things, but the
Yeah.
biggest, should we have fun right now or should I come back later? Because I used to say, would you like to see some magic? And then often they say no, even though they don't really know what they're saying no to. And I never took it personally because often if I said, hey, do you want to see some magic? And someone says no, maybe they think it's for kids. Maybe they think it's an additional fee. Um, and they don't really know what they're saying no to. So I frame it now so it's not impossible for them to say no, but it makes it a lot harder. And so
Oh,
if they
you're
really,
setting them up. You're setting them up too.
I'm setting them up to basically say, uh, hey, I promise you're going to like this. And this is going to be really, really fun. But if they really do say no, I'm not trying to, overtly manipulate them and tricking them, so to speak, into watching magic. What I am doing is using my experience to know that often they say no when they don't know what they're saying no to, and often when someone wants to say no and then they end up watching it anyway, they realize that they made the right choice in watching. So um, I am I'm on their side, and but I don't really have the luxury of saying, "Hey, I know you want to say no, but it's actually better than you think. Here are the reasons why." So I just be a little bit more efficient with it, and I just make it harder for them to say no. But if they say no, I don't take it personally. I say, "Great, have a good rest of your evening," and then I move on.
You're not even really framing it in a question that allows them to say no. You're saying, here's your choices. You can have fun, or I'll come back later and you'll have fun.
That's it. That's
So
exactly
it's almost like, do I want to have fun now or do I want to have fun later? Because if they say later, then you have a free pass to come back.
right. And the other thing too is it subtly, very subtly, says it's on the house. Um,
Yeah.
and I'm paid to be there. Because if I say, "Would you like to see magic?" that sometimes people can interpret that as in, "Do you want to pay for magic? Do you want this extra thing?" So when I say, "Do you want to have some fun now, or should I come back later?" it's very clear that I'm official and I'm paid. But I I like the fact that it's subtle, because if I don't put that line in and I say something along the lines of, um, hey, it's the magic is on the house. Would you like to have some fun with magic? Because as soon as I say it's on the house, there goes my tip,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
So I'd like to subtly let them know that it's on the house, and then I've got some tip lines that I put in later to let them know subtly that I do accept tips.
Who are you looking for in the restaurant? And as far as like you're thinking about, okay, they look like they're ready to be approached.
Yeah, that's a really good question. So um, there's a lot of reasons why I won't approach a table. And it's different. My buddy Alex, who does restaurant magic as well, he has a very different approach. He will pretty much approach anything that breathes, uh, and I don't, um, or at least not in that moment. So some reasons why I won't approach a table are if I see menus, because that means they haven't put their order in yet, right?
Uh,
Um, and or if I see them just seated, and maybe the menus haven't even come out yet, I want to make sure that I approach somebody either after they put in their order or after they eat, because if they're just chatting and they have menus out there, and sometimes they'll say, "Hey, come over here, let's do some magic." What I will often say is, "I will come back to you. We're going to have some fun, but I want you to put in your orders first, because the staff here don't like to interrupt me, which means it's going to be that much longer for you to get your food."
okay.
Right. So if they just sit down, if there's menus, um, if there's food, if they're in the middle of their main meal, I don't approach. Now I know there's some restaurant workers that that's a hard and fast rule. For me, it's not a hard and fast rule, but I kind of take it to a meta place with my table. Like I'll it's I don't often approach when there's food, but sometimes they ask me to come over, or sometimes I make eye contact with them and it would be weird to not approach them. So sometimes if they have their food, I'll go over and I'll say something like this: "Hey, food looks really great. I have a rule. The rule is when the food hits, I splits, because food's more important than magic. However, that's my rule, but you have the authority to veto that rule. So if you would say, 'Hey, Kyle, that's a silly rule. We can eat and have fun with magic,' that's fine with me." If it was a higher end restaurant, I wouldn't do that, but it's a pub. So I tell them my rules so they know that I'm being respectful, but I also give them the authority so they feel like they're still in control of this situation. And sometimes it feels nice to like break the rule and be a rebel too. So that works for me, but I understand that doesn't necessarily work for everybody. And then there's smaller situations too where I won't approach to, which is reasonable minds will differ on this one, but sometimes especially if it's like two middle-aged to older women, it's not a hard and fast I won't approach, but I'll be m- uh, more thoughtful about when and how I approach. Because more often than not, if it's two older women or so, my experience, they are two old friends who are meeting up and they haven't seen each other in a very, very long time. And so often, if I do approach, I'm just expecting them to say, "Hey, we haven't seen each other in a long time, so thank you so much, but we really just want to catch up," which is fine. Um, so, but again, it's not a hard and fast thing. Like sometimes I'll still approach, but especially if they're in the middle of a really like good, deep conversation, I don't approach when people are in a really deep conversation, even if it's like a seemingly happy one. It's they're really deep, and I don't want to detract from their experience at the restaurant. And I feel like I could if I interrupted a really deep conversation. Um, so those are kind of the main reasons why I wouldn't approach. That being said, on the other side of the coin, if there is a group that looks really fun, obviously I like fun. I like lots of people. Um, and it's great too if it's like a juxtaposition of ages too, so that way it just kind of subtly lets everybody surrounding know that it's not just for kids, it's not just for one demographic, it's for everybody.
Somebody I talked to a while back said they look for people who are bored.
Hmm. I don't look for people who are bored.
Like if everyone at the table is on their phone.
Yeah, so that's a good way to do it too. So you know, it's the people who are really excited and have a good time. That's going to be good for you as the magician because you're probably going to get a lot of good feedback from them, hoots and hollers and screamings, and that'll be good for to bring up the energy. So it's good for you as the magician. Bored people, it's good for them because you get to take them out of that rut. So at first I wasn't sure what you're referring to. Now I do know what you're talking about, and I do the same thing when I see, because it's kind of the opposite of people having a really deep conversation. If people are on their phone, I will absolutely approach, but it might not be my ideal first table because I like to get the energy up.
Yeah. So I worked at Disneyland in LA, and we called it spiel.
Okay.
So if someone's coming onto the ride or getting off the ride, or if they ask you where the bathroom is, or if they ask you a question or where are the fireworks, or so, you always have this line that you just kind of immediately say, and it ensures that you say the right thing and you're not going to stumble over your words like hey, my name's David, but and also that it's comforting to
Yes.
you. Like so often when we perform we're so nervous, we want everything to go well, and it sounds like you've created another set of patter for approaching tables, um, and asking to do magic, or if you see somebody who's busy, you have a prepared line that you would
Yes.
say. Does that
Yeah.
is that it's com does that kind of calm your nerves and brings you comfort and
Absolutely. That's part of the reason I feel like I have a lot of increased confidence at this point in my career because I don't really have to think about these things now. It's kind of like a flow chart, like an automatic flow chart in my head. Uh, oh, if this, then this. If this, then this. And yeah, so you don't really have to think about it. It just becomes kind of rote at this point, which is really cool. Um, I I love, yeah, I love the idea of the spiel, and then after I do the approach, I have a like an opening like performance line spiel too, which I think is really important too because when you are performing for strangers, they don't know you, they don't know what you do,
yeah,
or what you don't do. Um, so, for example, it's thankfully it's becoming increasingly rare, but there are people who associate magic with biblical sorcery or whatever it might be. and they might think it's a lot darker than it is. So, and another thing, well, I'll address that first, and then I'll talk about the other thing. Um, so, my opening line is, I don't do real magic. I don't do sorcery. I don't summon demons anymore. Uh, no, all I do is funny moves with my hands to make impossible things look like they're possible. That's it, right? And that is one of my opening lines because uh, one, it it shows that I do, it's not anything supernatural. It's not anything to be afraid of. It's not anything dark. And if I approach it, and like for example, I did a really like a hyper religious gig this summer, and this is coming from someone I am a Christian, but like there's a lot of people who uh, are hyper religious and
Yeah.
have these rules um, that they have in their head. So I for that group or for those groups, I took out the I don't do summon demons anymore, because it could be taken the wrong way and they might not get the joke, and I didn't want to chance that, right? So, but for the average person, I will put that line in to really hammer in that this is all fun. It's all games. Uh, it's not anything to be afraid of. But also, I'd say I do sleight of hand, which means I do funny moves with my hands to make impossible things look possible. I do that because my character uh, is a sleight of hand guy. Uh, I rely on sleight of hand. I don't rely on um, a lot of the time. I don't rely on special props. I don't rely on
Yeah.
apparatuses. It just gets people in the mind that, oh, okay, so this is a guy that takes his craft seriously. So it's not dark, it's not scary, and this guy's probably going to be pretty good. And so I put that in there to kind of front load the information to try to um, encourage them that I'm worth watching, and they're going to be proverbially safe in my hands.
Well, and it's also sounds lighthearted too. You like not that like you don't take yourself too seriously. Like it doesn't come across as like cheesy magic.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. It's like one of the best compliments that I could get is you're a master of your craft. I love that. Um, I love that way more than something like that was impressive. Because I'm not here to impress you. I'm here to have fun with you. I don't like. I mean, and if someone likes that, that's fine. But I don't like the term. Oh well, that was very impressive, because then I think that sheds light on our social dynamic between me and that spectator. That not only yeah, they think it's impressive, but that means that it's likely that they think that I want them to be impressed, and that's why I'm doing it. My sole purpose is to impress them, as if I have this social need to establish and validate my worth and stuff
Validate.
like
Yeah.
that. Right? And I don't want that. I want people to feel safe in my hands, and I want people to feel free to open up, relax, and have a good time with me while we're doing magic. That's it.
When you hear people give advice about performing, and especially in putting a little set together, you often hear the rule of three, like have an attention grabber opener, then you have like some sort of middle trick that bridges the two, and then you have a solid closer. Like, do you think that's still good advice in the world today, or do you have a different approach to putting a set
Yeah,
together?
that's a really good question. I don't disagree with that actually, um, but there is something I do disagree with. But everything you said, I do. I think it's fine. I think it's a good structure. It's a good recipe, but you don't need to stick to that. For example, if you do mostly mind reading stuff, you don't need to have something super visual at the beginning. You can. I mean, there is visual mentalism, but um, I believe that the best. I do want something quick and eye catching as my opener, um, my closer needs to be really freaking strong, but you don't want it to be, because sometimes there's really strong closers, but there's a lot of process to get there. You don't want the food to turn up halfway through, right?
Yeah.
So it does need to be able to, you can put stuff in if you need to, you can take stuff out if you need to. You need to be really, um, you need to be really flexible as a restaurant magician. Um, though I think the one thing that I would say is the middle trick doesn't need to be any less strong or less visual than any of than your opener or closer. But I will say it's a good place to put in a new routine that you're working on, because if you're thinking about how people remember things, they have recency bias. And they remember the first thing. So, like, they'll remember the first thing you did, they'll remember the last thing you did. So, it's not really an excuse to do anything less than your very best in the middle. Um, but if there is something that you want to hedge your bets a little bit and say, okay, well, I'm trying this new thing, and if there's ever something that I don't necessarily want them to remember, if it goes south, I'll put it in the middle position. That's also another reason to do restaurants. I love doing restaurants because I'll try out new material that I wouldn't dare try out at a corporate event.
Do you do you think in your mind when you approach a table that you're going to at least do three tricks, or
No, uh, I have. So, well, it depends on who it is. Like, there's kind of two camps. There's the first timers who've never seen me perform before, and then there's the repeats,
mm,
right? The first timers, I do the same routines every time. I'll do my Okito box routine that ends with an 8 ball production, but it also has like coin falls up and coin on shoulder and stuff like that, right? So I'll do that. I'll do my butterfly deck routine that ends with a deck vanish at the end, um, or I will do my sign card routine uh, that ends with dropped call. Basically, those are the three first timer effects, and so I'm just so comfortable with those. They're rote again at this point, so I don't even think about like the number of phases or the number of tricks, but they all are modular. So if the food comes, or someone gets an important phone call or something, I can take out stuff. Or if there's more people than typical, I can make it play bigger or make it play longer and stuff like that. But typically, those are the three things. When I have repeats, then I'll go into my B list set. Stuff I'm still pretty comfortable with, but I don't necessarily want my whole reputation hanging on it if they've never seen me before. Um, and then after someone's come back like 2 or 3 times, then I tell them, I say, hey, I want you to let you know you just got into guinea pig territory, which means at this point, every time you come in, you have the special privilege of looking at things that I'm working on, stuff that I haven't done a thousand times, and I'll be able to show you, and if you're willing, for you to give me some feedback on it. And then that makes them feel special, and it's almost like a reward
yeah,
for coming back so often.
yeah. How do you handle like tables that are too close that if like the table's having fun, they see that there's a magician over there, they might turn around and look at what you're doing, and that might hinder you going over there and repeating the same trick. Do you
Yeah,
do you say something to them like
I
I'll
I do. So my character is very I would say reminiscent of like a Greg Wilson kind of thing, where I'm just overtly playful, and I'll tell you what I say, but I'm sure it doesn't work for everybody. But um, like I'll be doing something, I've got a lot of energy going, and then I see people at the next table looking over, and then I'll like slap the table and I say, "I'll get to you next. You wait your turn," in that kind of thing, and that usually gets a laugh because they don't know that I saw them, right? And I say with a smile on my face and a twinkle in my eyes, so they know that I'm just messing with them. But also, that I am going to go over there, so they don't have to keep watching, which means that I can do some of the stuff that I'm doing currently at this table. But if they don't pick up on the hint and they keep watching, especially kids, right? Kids won't pick up on that.
Yeah.
Then I will just do another routine when I go over there.
Well, okay. Yeah. And you mentioned three, you mentioned three tricks that you do perform. Are there tricks now that you'd be like, I'm never doing that again in a restaurant setting? Like sponge bunnies do not work in a restaurant. Like, is there something that you've kind of sworn off and said you won't do?
Um, there's definitely things I've sworn off, but you're asking specifically because it's a restaurant setting.
I don't know, maybe just whatever you want to, whatever you want to talk
I
about.
I used to do sponge balls,
Yeah.
and I'm powerful, and I know it's like the epitome of magic in your hands, but I just don't think I'm going to borrow a phrase from my friend Vince, but I don't. No, no, I'm sorry, John. Um, I don't think it has the gravitas that I want to project to my audiences.
Mhm.
Um, I want to be, uh, I want to be cool. I want to be playful. I want to be safe. I want to be, uh, I want to be kind of suave, but not James Bond suave, but suave enough that people just know that I'm in control of the situation, right? And I don't think I am gonna check those boxes with sponge balls, and it
It's more that it doesn't fit your character.
doesn't fit me. It's great, and
Yeah.
if you kill with sponge balls, keep killing with sponge balls. But I don't want that aesthetic associated with me.
Do you have a favorite reaction from a spectator?
Yeah, the favorite reaction is wow, you are a master of your craft. Um, because because they that tells me that they realize, oh, it's not just going to a magic shop and learning a secret and showing it to people, but rather they understand that it is an art form, just like piano playing, just like juggling, just like whatever it might be. um, and often that's because magic is inherently a an art form where you do hide your skill, right? And meet people almost by definition don't know what goes into what we do. So when someone does say something like that, that means they understand kind of the structure of it. Like, oh, it is a craft. Oh, there are thousands of hours that you put into this. Oh, it's not just about fooling you. It's about putting it all together so it feels natural and magical. Um, and so that's my favorite. That's probably my favorite reaction. I also like the stunned, silent jaw on the floor kind of thing. That's really nice. Screams are nice, but I don't usually work the places or do the material that gets like screams, um, which is fine. I don't really need that. It's a little over the top, but if that's how someone needs to react, that's how they need to react. Um, like I said, the reaction I hate the most is that was impressive, and it's not them at all. It's not. I'm not putting that on the spectator who says it. I carry the burden on that because I feel like I didn't do my job to let them know subtly that that's not my intention.
Yeah. I used to play I used to play violin in high school and college, and the compliment that I hated was you have a gift. Because I would argue, no, I don't. Like I practice.
Work really
I
hard.
put in so many hours at this. This is not a gift. You could do this too if you put in all the hours that I do.
Like a web cartoon once that someone said, "Man, I wish I could draw like you," and the person's like, "No, no, no, you don't. Because if you did, you would be doing it." You know,
Sure, there's that.
obviously it's more complex than that, but like if you this person was drawing very well, and it wasn't because they're naturally good artists. It's because they wanted it really bad and they wanted to be able to do it that well, so they worked on it
Yeah.
every day. And so you could probably do that too if you really wanted it, but don't say you wish you could do that if you don't plan on putting in the time.
Speaking of people reacting, do you still come across hecklers and people that try to trip you up?
Yeah, that's a really good question too. um, Often Often no. Uh, and it's I think it's a combination between the character, the persona that I put across. Just I think it's pretty disarming, and it makes it a little harder to heckle me because I come across I think it's a pretty nice guy, um, but a guy who knows what they're doing. So, but also the places that I tend to uh, work are they're like middle class often middle class white people who who are just coming out because they want to take their family out or for a drink because it's been a hard day. It's
Yeah.
not really the place that there's a lot of belligerent drunks or just people. But I do run into hecklers, and what I find works best for me with hecklers is just kind of the same mentality of making it really hard for them to get any satisfaction out of heckling me. Um, and so, like, there was a guy a few months ago who said something like, so he saw me do stuff and he was like, oh, well, that's not magic. You're just like doing secret stuff. I'm like, yep. And and he said, yeah, no, but it's not actually happening. There's like a trick to all this. I'm like, sir, you are absolutely correct. And he said, no, but you're a fraud. I'm like, sir, I'm going to go on a limb here and say you're probably frustrated that it's really hard to make me upset because I agree with every single thing you're saying. And I find that if you just agree with people, they have no fuel.
Yeah.
And you know, yeah, and if it works with like personal attacks too. If someone called me ugly, I would be like, you know what? I think that often myself. Thanks for bringing that up again, sir. And just kind of diffuse the situation by being playful, being charming, being self-deprecating, uh, and you know, you will it'll make it hard to heckle, but also just it's kind of preventative too. And I just don't get that many hecklers.
Yeah. Do you still have tricks that go wrong? And
Yep.
if you do, how do you recover?
Um, so I kind of subscribe to the Garrett Thomas way of thinking about that, which is always have an out, even if you don't know what the out is. Um, so he had this famous story. This was all Garrett, but like I guess he was doing imagination coins one time, and he accidentally dropped we'll say turtle, right?
Yeah.
And and he was gonna pick it up and move on, but the spectator was super close and was just a nice guy and bent down to pick it up for him just to be nice, and it fell turtle side up, unfortunately, and and the guy had a really weird look on his face when he saw it, and Garrett said, "Oh, that's what I wanted to show you." Like without missing a beat, it's not he didn't panic, he didn't say, "Oh yeah," he just, "Oh yeah, that's what I wanted to show you," and then just because he had such, he's one with his hands, he's one with his props. He doesn't have to really think about it. He just knew what moves to use to create this illusion. Now that he's like, yeah, this is a half a coin, and he reached in his pocket and he said, "This is the other half of the coin." And if you put them together and you put a wish inside, it becomes one full coin again, and you can keep that and just make sure you never lose that wish. And I'm paraphrasing; I don't remember exactly what he
Mhm.
said, but that's the idea that it's in that case he actually did say that's what I wanted to show you. But I think that's just kind of the overall vibe that I like to put across. If something because things happen. I mean, everything happens. I think I've got pretty good technique with a lot of things, but um, you know, sometimes I fumble a top change. Sometimes uh, I will split a double. Sometimes I will flash a classic palm coin, um, and it's always the mentality of, oh, that's what I wanted to show you.
Yeah.
Uh, so like if I'm classic palm and coin and they get a glimpse of it and someone calls me out, I say, aha, who else saw it too? I was hoping you would see that. Uh, and when I say, I was hoping you would see that, then that just changes the whole story now. And they're like, I thought I caught him out. He wanted me to see that. Shoot. And then, of course, that you need to come up with a reason why you wanted them to see it. So now it's like an expose, and you're going to show them how you can conceal coins, but this time you do a heel clip steal, or you do a French drop, or whatever you do, and then so then you regain the control, and it might even improve the quality of effect because now you've taken it on a roller coaster of emotions too.
It's like the old thing that we used to say as kids, the I meant to do that.
Yeah, yeah, that's exactly what it is. They don't know that you screwed up, even when they're certain that you screwed up. Like you flashed a coin, you can convince them that you didn't screw up. So it's kind of a cool superpower to have that they don't know what is going on. So you still have a lot to work with, even if something didn't go 100% perfect.
Yeah, when I used to when I work with kids, one of the rules was not in a magic setting, like a teaching setting. One of the rules was never tell the group that things could have been better. You never say like, you know what, we were going to have somebody here to talk to you, but they couldn't come. Like, don't tell them that.
Right.
Whatever whatever happens, just let them think that that's what it was supposed to be. And then
Absolutely.
if it's only at an 8, you make them believe it's at a 10. Like
Right.
that's how it goes.
Right. I mean, you have the frame of reference that they don't have.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. How's your battery life?
I think I'm about 20.
Yeah. So you've been to a lot of magic conventions too, and
Yeah.
then now you said you've done some corporate work, you've done restaurant work. Do you have what's your advice to magicians as far as like dress, hygiene? Hey, I'm going out to perform magic.
Mhm.
Like, what should my attitude be as far as how I present myself?
Absolutely. So there's a few things that I think are important to say here. Um, so there's the old adage that says wherever you're performing, you should be dressed like one level above the guests,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah,
Um, and I don't think that's wrong, but I don't think that's the only answer. Um, and so that's a good rule of thumb. Like you'll never go wrong if you
sure.
adhere. Um, but sometimes it's hard to dress nicer than those people if you're doing like a black tie thing or kind of thing. But also, I this is getting more theoretical as opposed to something I actually actively practice. But I do believe it, which is sometimes it's okay to not dress as nicely as your guests. And let me give you a reason why I say that. Um, who's one of the biggest names in Magic right now? I would say it's Justin Wellman, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he never wears a suit. He does huge, you know, corporate events all over the country, and he goes on stage in jeans and a black T-shirt. And it would be weird for him to wear a suit at this point, I think,
Yeah.
because if I assume you've seen his show.
Hmm.
Yeah, the aesthetic of a suit doesn't fit the aesthetic of his show,
Right.
but it doesn't matter because people uh, who book him for that corporate event know the aesthetic of him and his vibe and his show. Um, so they want that. If they want that, then
Right.
his part of his show. Um, so I think that's a really important thing. I've done a corporate event. I did one earlier this year where they actually specifically requested that I come in. Well, because they actually scouted me at the restaurant that I work at just to see if I was worth the investment. Um, and they and they, long story short, they did say they wanted to book me, and I said, "Oh, that's great." Just full disclosure, obviously, when I do corporate events, I don't dress in a black T-shirt and a beanie because that's what I do when I do restaurants. Because I like to more. I feel like it humanizes me more, and I feel like it makes me more approachable than going in a restaurant in a suit and tie. Um, and they actually said, actually, that's one of the reasons we wanted to book you. We love the fact that you are so casual. Because the corporate event that we're doing is a bunch of construction workers who sometimes might feel a little uncomfortable with the uppityness of that kind of corporate world. And so we would love it if you dressed down for this. So I did a $2,000 gig in a t-shirt and a beanie and pants, always pants. But but it was so it's not as rigid as I think some of those rules seem at first.
Mhm.
Uh, but the other thing that I think is really important um, when you're working on stage, which is not my own thoughts, this is a just a rule of thumb that I think is really good, which is get good shoes, like wear
Yeah.
nice, because when you're on stage, your feet are at often their eye level. So that is what they are seeing a lot of the time, more than most of the time uh, when you're not on stage. So don't overlook uh, wearing some nice shoes.
I I've told my own sons that, when guys dress or we buy clothes, we just throw on like a jeans and t-shirt, and girls are always jealous. They say, "How guys look good just in jeans and t-shirts, and girls have to do all this extra stuff." And then I say, "Yes, but girls also spend a lot of attention on accessories, whether it's shoes, belts, watches, glasses." I
Mm-hmm.
said that's where a guy shouldn't cut corners. You can
Mm-hmm.
cut corners on pants and shirts, but don't cut corners on anything that's leather. Your watch band, your shoes, your belt, all your
Sure.
accessories, those are noticeable, ironically.
Yeah,
The
absolutely.
little things.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Do you think that performing magic for strangers teaches you something about human nature?
Absolutely. 100%. Um, I often say that uh, master magicians are, while you can't call them psychologists because they don't have degrees, but I do say that master magicians are masters of the human psyche, and we understand uh, the way people tend to think given certain stimuli and what they tend to do and what they tend to not do and where the blind spots are and um, but you can also apply that to just approaching people. Like I'm pretty good at knowing when I approach a table if they're going to say no. Like there's a vibe that I pick up. In fact, there here's another thing I said. Like you were talking about spiels that you have
Yeah.
ready. So there's another situation that happens sometimes. I think it has to do with the human nature here because so I'll do my opening spiel and I
Okay.
say good time now or should I come back and have some fun later? And every once in a while I'll get this reaction, which is the people will start looking at each other around and someone will say and what I used to do when I was just first kind of starting this restaurant journey was I thought, oh, okay, so they're kind of on the fence. I'm gonna change their mind. I'm gonna we're gonna have some fun, and so I would do it, and sometimes I did, but often it was uh, it was fine, right? So so the fact that they were like and kind of ambivalent about it was kind of a sign of how they were going to react later on. I found. So now what happens when I say, "Hey, do you want to have fun now, or should I come back later?" And they all just kind of look around, going, I found it's human nature to not want to make the magic guy feel bad for saying no. They just felt bad. they didn't want magic
Right.
often. Uh, they don't really want magic, but they don't want to be the mean person to say no. So I just call them out on it now, but in the nicest way. And so as soon as they start to say, I'll be like, all right, so I'm going to cut you off here, and I'm going to make a guess. And I'm going to guess, sir, that you want to say no, but you're too nice to. And usually they go, yeah, we're fine here. I'm like, that's fine. I totally get it. Um, and then I just do a clean break there because I find that makes my night better. It makes their night better um, than me forcing magic upon them that they're not convinced that they want. Um, and so, uh, so that yeah. So sometimes you just after you're doing this a lot, you pick up on patterns that certain groups tend to do. And obviously, there are exceptions to patterns. I could be wrong. I could say, hey, I get, I'm going to assume that you're too nice to say no, you gotta, yada, yada, and then leave. And then maybe they could have been a great group. But I like to hedge my bets, and I know that they weren't thrilled about it. So I know that if I left, they would be just as happy as they were beforehand. But if I intruded and tried to do magic anyway, it might make their dining experience a little less than it was. Um, so that's kind of my take on that.
What's your advice to someone who's just been performing in their bedroom and for their family, and they really want to just get out there and be that magician that performs for strangers, but they don't know if they're ready or they just feel nervous.
Okay. Yeah. So here it is. Performing for strangers is so much easier than performing for family. I truly believe that. I can't stand performing for my family. I love my family, but I can't stand performing for them. I get nervous performing for my family,
Oh
uh,
yeah.
especially my parents. I don't get nervous when I perform for strangers. I get nervous when I perform for my close family um, for a few reasons. One, they saw me in diapers. They changed my poo. Like all this, all this stuff. And
Mhm.
so they saw me from the very beginning before I got into any of this, right? So they know me more than most people do, and so they knew me before I was the magic guy. So when I perform for them now, it's a lot harder because I don't have that mystique about me that I do for strangers, right? But also, if I screw something up, I can't really escape my family. you know? If I screw something up for strangers, or at least it's not the best performance, I can forget about it because I'm never going to see them again, most likely. Um, and so that's what, but when you are, it's kind of, I see it the same way as, you know, you can kind of reinvent yourself going from like high school to college. And I would say I did, right? I was, somebody in high school, but then I got to college and I made the realization no one knows me here. They don't know the things I did in high school. They don't know any baggage that I have. They don't know who I want to be. So you can take that as you can take advantage of that fact and kind of reinvent yourself and go in with maybe more confidence than you feel like you have because they don't know that you don't have the confidence that you seem to have because they never met you before, right?
Mhm.
So I truly, I mean, 100 times out of 100, I will perform for strangers before I perform for family.
Right. Okay, rapid fire questions. First trick you ever learned.
Oh, oh man, that is a rapid fire question. I don't know if I can rapid fire the answer though.
Mhm.
First, the first like real trick, like the first like
Sure.
after
Sure.
the magic was, I got it for Christmas. It was Holy Moly by Jay Sankey.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Favorite card in the deck.
King of Hearts.
Okay.
Uh,
I think, yeah.
Closely followed by the Four of Diamonds.
Okay. I think I know what you're going to say, but cards, coins, or mentalism.
Oh. I'm curious what you think I'm going to say, uh, but probably coins, actually.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, I coins excite me more now than cards do. You
Okay.
get, but yeah, I mean, it's a close second. Cards are a close second for sure.
What's the most awkward place you've ever performed?
A food show. I don't know. Like it's like so like all these food stands
Yeah.
and the people walking around, like the people who are attending the event are restaurant owners and managers, and they're going to all these stands to try to like find new foods to get for their restaurant, right? So it's very much like a business dealing,
Yeah.
and people are on the clock and they're working and they're doing this and they're exchanging contact information and doing this and all this, and whoever was organizing this thought it was a good idea to bring in a magician, and and I'm like, all right. And I would approach somebody and they're like, hey, sorry, I don't, we're trying to do business here. I'm like, I know,
Yeah.
but be here.
So am I. Um, most well-known person you've ever performed magic for?
Um, Probably Penn and Teller.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, but besides the show, probably Matt Franco or Dan White. I don't think I've ever performed for any non-magician celebrities.
Well, okay. All right. Favorite magic book?
Oh man. Okay. Um, I'm going to give you two.
Okay.
And one is Mentalissimo by John Bannon.
Yes. Okay.
Great book, lots of great card material in there. Um, and even though I don't do it, I adore this book. It's called, oh man, oh yeah, it's called Elementary by Drew Backenstoss.
Oh, okay. I know the author. I don't know the book name. Is
Yeah,
it?
it's a deep dive into a particular method for a pin code divination.
Oh, wow.
And
Okay.
entire book for it. It's so satisfying to hold and read, and it's not my thing to perform, but I loved learning it.
If you could only do one trick for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Probably my Okita box routine.
Okay. What would be the dream location or venue that you would love to perform?
I want to do more stuff overseas, so let's
Okay.
say Italy.
Italy?
Yeah, so
Okay.
why not?
How would you finish the sentence? Magic is.
No, man, you can't put me on the spot like that. Magic is Magic is home.
Yeah,
Home.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks for talking to me today, and I'm sure people got a ton out of your advice and your wisdom.
Well, thanks, man. I surely hope so. It was really great talking to you.
Yeah,
Need to catch up in person sometime soon. Are you going to Magi Fest?
I don't know. I do not know yet. You got anything coming up or coming up for sale or things that people could look out for?
A lot of things that are in the pipeline. We got something coming out through Alakazam, hopefully coming in the next few months. Something we have even though it's a download, I think it's going to be a very popular thing coming out through Penguin. It's one of my favorite creations that I've ever come up with, and I think it's going to be very well received. And then a lot of other things too, but they're a little bit further away.
Yeah. You got any social tags or you want people to follow you at?
Yeah, we could do Kyle Purnell Magic. That's Kyle underscore Purnell underscore Magic for Instagram. I think that's also TikTok as well. And then for Facebook, it can be Kyle Purnell Close Up Magician. And then that is KylePurnellMagic.com.
Yeah. Thanks for talking to me.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. Bye,
Yeah,
guys.
I'll see you next time. Bye.